I describe my next guest as someone with a brilliant repertoire of musicality. I first met him in September of 2015 when he did his language stay on the Gold Coast. He describes himself as a DJ or a producer and a trumpet player. Last month, he released his album titled Orchestral Experience, a fusion of classical music made contemporary and modern. Coming to you from Zurich in Switzerland, would you please welcome my friend Felix? Felix, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Shane, for having me.
I just wanted to talk to you about your time in Australia, and I wanted to sort of talk about sort of your first expression, first impressions of your time here. Could you sort of describe to me your first impressions when you arrived in Australia? What was those feelings like on that day?
I think it was a mix from being just really excited, while also being nervous, of course, because I think it was the first time that I left Switzerland for this long. It was 6 months in total. So obviously I was really nervous because I, of course, was still little back then.
Yeah.
So I also remembered that in the plane, I was flying with an Airbus A380, and there were like next to no people in the plane, so that was kind of scaring me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized once I set foot to Australia and I took the cab from Brisbane to Surfers, and I first saw these huge skyscrapers along the beach side. That was really exciting for me. I remember that because, of course, I saw pictures of Surfers Paradise, but seeing it like real with your eyes, that was something else. That was really something else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was excited, and it was funny because I also told myself, hey, now I'm not gonna speak a single word in Swiss German for the next 6 months. And I remembered when I first met my roommates, I came in the flat and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm Felix. What's your names?" And they were like, "Yeah, I'm Rafi. I'm Matthew, and we're both from Basel." And I was like, "Oh, geile Sicher," and I started to speak Swiss German. So I already fucked up, and I was like, I don't know, 2 hours on the ground already.
Yeah.
So in this part, I kind of failed, but yeah, that were my first impressions of Australia.
I remember that night, the Friday night, for example. It's one of the biggest nights that we have, and I just remember, like, literally, when you have 78 people all from the same school, and we're all there on the tables, all dancing. Can you?
Yeah.
How do you get those? Can you get a recollection of what were you doing on that night? Because I know that there were times when I completely lost it. I mean, you guys were just like all of a shot.
I mean, the funny thing was that Silvan and that was the Cheeky Monkey, right?
Yeah, Cheeky Monkeys. Yeah, that's right.
It's the Cheeky Monkey Club, and there was the color party, and we were all like colored from body.
Yes.
And the funny thing was that Silvan and we got kicked out of the club actually.
Okay.
That night.
Yeah.
And actually I can't remember why, but there was some incident. I don't know why. And it's kind of in Byron, they have this lockdown system that you, after I don't know, 1
you had to be
or something, you
had to
can't
be
get back in. Exactly. So we weren't able to go back in, and so then we decided, okay, we're just gonna have our own party in the street. And there was this dude, this musician who was, I don't know, he was playing or he was singing and playing guitar.
Yeah.
And we went to this guy, and we were dancing on the street, and it was super fun, and there were other people joining us. And then we had this little rave on the street, and this guy was jamming, and it was just amazing experience.
Yeah.
So that was, but actually in the club, I wasn't long there.
You weren't long there as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've done the trip. I've done the trip 25 times, and it doesn't surprise me because nearly every trip there's like a number of people who don't even make it past it, or they just leave, or they just disappear. So don't feel like And don't feel any guilt that you got kicked out, because you've sort of made yourself part of that special club of people who get kicked out. And I mean, you know what they say, what happens in Byron stays in Byron. So honestly,
Exactly.
I wouldn't regret it. You did exactly what you needed to do. So you had that weekend in your memory. So don't worry. I want to talk about the friendships that you made in Australia. And when I spoke to you before the interview, I brought up a very important point about the fact that it's been over 5 years, almost 5 years, that you guys have sort of known each other, or since you've done your last language day. How do you still maintain and keep those friendships going and those relationships, especially in a COVID environment? Like, how do you still maintain that communication and contact?
I mean, first of all, it's pretty convenient with social media these days.
Yeah.
So I kind of stay in touch with everybody thanks to my Instagram stories. So yeah, I mean, I see, this guy is doing that, this girl is doing that. But when it comes to like physical seeing each other, it's something different. We had this kind of group also in Australia that was sticking together, and we have this WhatsApp group chat.
Mhm.
And I'm not a guy who like has the like who is really talented in organizing like huge reunion parties, but I'm really lucky that there are people in the group who are keen enough like to really organize this kind of events, and I'm super on to always take part. And also, like, if I know like the club manager from a club or something, I try to put everybody on the guest list. And but I mean, when we came back from Australia, we saw each other quite regularly.
Yep.
Of course, this faded out um, from the last past 5 years, but I think nowadays we still saw each other every 5 to 6 months, I guess.
Okay.
At least 2 times a year,
Mhm.
maybe 3 times, which is really okay, because I think we had all the time of our lives back then, but it's also quite normal that everybody like after like tries to find his own way, and maybe meets new people, and things get forgotten. But we still try to keep in touch like every 5 to 6 months,
Yeah.
especially in COVID times when everybody is a little bit depressing. It's really, really, really fun, and also good for my health, like just to see these guys, and to have this kind of flashback moments,
Yeah.
where you're talking about all the stories that happened. You have a look at the pictures, you see videos, and that's just really something that is really, really nice.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I'll say this: anyone that you've caught up with during your language stay, all those times that you guys have had reunions, those of you that have caught up with Felix, you guys deserve a bit of credit. So heads up to all of those who knew Felix back in September of 2015 and made the effort to catch up with him. So nicely done there. Looking back at your time in Australia, how does music change you as a person? Like, did you see any sort of personal growth from your perspective? Like, how did music help you continue where you are at what you're doing?
I mean, to summarize it, I think I'm became more calm
Mm-hmm.
and more settled, I guess, which is fine. I'm actually not sure if it's due to the music or just because I grew older.
Mm-hmm.
But with the decision to focus really just on the music, um, had the side effect that I got in touch with a lot of new people in Switzerland, and this kind of shifted me away from the person I was before I went to Australia, because I was doing a lot of sports, for example. I was doing a lot of clubbing. I was doing just all the crazy stuff. when I came back, I really got in touch with a lot of other musicians, um, and instead of just going clubbing, I started to gain interest in culture in general. For example, also like going to concerts, listening to a lot of jazz musicians and everything. And I think these people, they really pushed me in a direction where life is just more calm and settled.